My brother stole my identity to take $180,000 in loans after I bailed him out of jail, so I turned him in and watched him get 7 years. I'm a 28-year-old guy, and I've always been the one cleaning up my brother's messes. It's like I was born into the role of the fixer while he got to play the screw-up. Sean is 2 years older than me, but emotionally, it's like he never left high school. He makes reckless decisions, lies easily, and somehow always manages to land on his feet, usually because I'm the one breaking my back to catch him. Growing up, our parents babied him constantly. Whenever he crashed a car, flunked a class, got into fights, it was never his fault. "Sean's just struggling," Mom would say. "Don't be so hard on him," was their favorite line. Meanwhile, I had straight A's, a part-time job at 15, and barely got a nod of approval. When Dad had a stroke 3 years ago, I moved back home without question. Took on double shifts. Paid the mortgage when Mom fell behind. Sean, he disappeared for weeks at a time, only to show up when dinner was ready or rent was due. I kept telling myself that being the dependable one would pay off eventually, that one day they'd look at me and say, "Thank you. We see you," but that moment never came. Instead, I became the family's silent workhorse, useful but never celebrated, and the more I gave, the more they expected. There were times I'd lie awake at night wondering if I'd done something wrong, if maybe I wasn't lovable in the same way Sean was, but I stayed quiet. I kept showing up. I kept covering for him until the day I realized that Sean wasn't just careless, he was dangerous, and I was the idiot holding the match while he poured the gasoline. It was 3:12 a.m. when my phone rang, buzzing violently on the nightstand. I was dead asleep, but jolted awake by that gut-sinking feeling, the kind you only get when something's seriously wrong. I answered without looking. "Hey, man." "It's me," Sean's voice slurred. "I need your help. I'm in jail." I didn't even ask. Why, I already knew. Later, I'd find out it was a DUI. With a possession charge stacked on top, weed pills, alcohol in his system. No license, no insurance, just another disaster in his long, proud resume of But in that moment, I heard the fear in his voice. Not performative, not manipulative, real, bone-deep fear. "I can't call Mom. She'd freak out," he said. And I swear I could hear him shaking, so I bailed him out. $2,500. That's what it cost me. My emergency savings just gone in the blink of an eye. I told myself I was doing the right thing. That maybe, finally, this was the wake-up call he needed. Sean cried in the back seat the whole ride home. Said he was done with that life. Said he'd go to rehab, get a job, clean up for real. I wanted to believe him so badly. I kept glancing at him through the rearview mirror, and for a second, he looked like the scared kid I grew up with, the one who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms, vulnerable, human. "I'm sorry, man," he whispered. "I really am." And I nodded, because that's what I do. I nod. I fix. I forgive, but I should have known better, because Sean didn't change. He didn't even try. And that night, that ride home, it was just the first act in the worst betrayal of my life. After the arrest, something shifted in the air, but not in the way I hoped. Sean was still recovering, which in our house meant lying on the couch, watching Netflix, and occasionally sighing loud enough for Mom to say, "He's going through a lot right now." He didn't go to rehab, didn't get a job, didn't apologize again, just existed. And everyone tiptoed around him like he was made of glass. Meanwhile, I went back to working overtime, trying to refill the emergency fund I'd drained to bail him out. Groceries, gas, medical bills for Dad, somehow all of it ended up on my plate. No one asked if I was okay. No one cared that I was falling apart quietly. I was just expected to keep everything running. Then it got worse. Mom started dropping hints. Subtle at first. "Sean needs a little help getting on his feet." Then not so subtle. "You're doing fine, Kent. You float him a couple hundred for job hunting stuff?" When I hesitated, she got defensive. "Don't be selfish. He's your brother." That line. He's your brother. It became the family's weapon of choice. My aunt used it, my uncle, even Dad, who could barely speak after his second stroke, wheezed it through cracked lips like a damn curse. I wasn't a person anymore. I was a resource, an ATM with a guilt button. And the more I tried to push back, the more they made me feel like the villain, like I was cruel for not giving more. Never mind that I'd already sacrificed my savings, my sleep, my sanity. Never mind that I was drowning. Sean didn't change. But the family, they got real comfortable with the idea that I would always pay the price for his mistakes. It started with a notification on my phone. $1,287.39 charged to my credit card. The merchant, a high-end electronics store downtown. My stomach dropped. I hadn't bought anything. I called the bank immediately. "Are you sure this was you?" the rep asked. "I'm staring at my card right now," I muttered. No, it wasn't me. The bank froze the card, but the damage was done. I was already picturing the call from fraud services, the paperwork, the stress. I came home that evening, exhausted, and there was Sean, sitting on the couch playing a brand new PS5, his feet propped up like he owned the place. "You like it?" he asked, grinning. It was a crazy deal. Couldn't pass it up. My heart stopped. "Wait, you didn't?" He looked at me like I was the crazy one. "Relax. I'll pay you back. You make like 5 times what I do." I saw red. "That's not the point. You stole from me. It's not stealing, it's family," he said flatly. Then he turned the volume up like that, ended the conversation. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake him, to drag him out of my apartment and never look back. But instead, I called Mom. She picked up on the second ring. I told her everything, every word, and her response. "You're seriously freaking out over a PlayStation. He said he'll pay you back. Don't make a scene." That moment broke something in me. It wasn't just Sean anymore. It was all of them. The worst part, they made me feel guilty. Like I was being too harsh. Like I was the problem. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to my brother laugh in the next room. And for the first time in years, I started thinking about kicking him out. I waited 2 days. 2 full days of avoiding eye contact, holding in my breath, counting backwards in my head every time he made a smug comment or left dishes in the sink. 2 days of watching him lounge around like a king in a palace he didn't build. On the 3rd morning, I walked into the living room, looked him dead in the eye, and said, "You've got 48 hours to leave. I'm done." Sean blinked at me like I'd just slapped him. "You're kicking me out." "Seriously?" "Seriously," I said. "Get a job. Get your own place. You're not my problem anymore." He stood up, puffing his chest like he thought that would intimidate me. "You're a bitter control freak. That's your real problem." I didn't respond. I just walked back to my room and closed the door. That evening, Mom called. Her voice was sharp, accusing, "How could you throw your own brother onto the street?" "I didn't throw him." I gave him time. "He stole from me, Mom. He's your family," she hissed. "He's going through things you don't understand." "Then you take him," I snapped. "Let him steal your credit card." That's when the flood started. My aunt texted me a long paragraph about how disappointed she was. My uncle sent a voice note saying, "You're supposed to be the mature one." Even my cousin, who hadn't spoken to me in 2 years, decided to chime in. "Wow, you really let money change you." Sean. He left exactly 50 hours later. Slammed the door so hard a picture frame fell off the wall. No goodbye, no thanks, just gone, and in his place, he left behind silence. Cold, echoing silence. I thought that would be the end of it, but I had no idea he was just getting started. 3 months passed. For the first time in years, my apartment felt quiet, clean, peaceful. I started sleeping better. My shoulders weren't tense all the time. No passive-aggressive sighs from the couch, no empty beer cans hidden behind furniture. It was like I could finally breathe. Then, one morning, I opened my mailbox and froze. A thick envelope from a bank I didn't recognize, addressed to me, my full legal name, middle initial, and all. "Congratulations on your approved loan," it read. A $35,000 personal loan at 11.7% interest. My jaw dropped. I hadn't applied for anything at first. I assumed it was a scam. But the paperwork looked real: my name, my address, even the last 4 digits of my social security number. My hand started shaking as I read it again, this time slower. There was no mistake. I ran to my laptop and pulled up my credit report. There were 4 new accounts under my name. 4 personal loans, credit cards, a damn auto loan from a dealership 2 cities away. My available credit had been wiped out. My score had plummeted over 200 points in 60 days. I felt like the floor dropped beneath me. My mouth went dry. The room started spinning. I hadn't just been scammed. Someone close to me had done this. Someone with my documents, my ID, my social, my everything. And then it hit me, John. He had stayed in my apartment for months. My desk drawers, my file cabinets, my locked safe. He knew the code. A sick feeling settled in my chest. I wanted to believe I was wrong, that this was just a mix-up. But deep down, I already knew my brother didn't just steal my credit card. He stole my entire identity. I barely slept that night. My mind raced through every possibility, every alternative explanation, but they all led back to one person. Sean. He was the only one who had access to my documents, the only one reckless and selfish enough to do this and still sleep at night the next morning. I called the loan company from the envelope. "I never applied for this," I told them, my voice shaking. "We have your signature on file, sir," the rep said calmly. "Would you like us to send you a copy?" I said yes. And when it arrived, Digital Scan and Ali stared at it in disbelief. It was my name, but not my handwriting. Not even close. The loops were wrong. The spacing was off. It looked like someone trying to imitate me and failing. I called the police, filed a fraud report. Then I called the other 3 lenders. Same story. Same forged signature. Same calm customer service voices pretending this was just another Tuesday. I started documenting everything. Screenshots, printed letters. I even took photos of old paperwork to show the difference in handwriting. My heart was pounding constantly. I couldn't focus at work. I started missing meals, skipping calls, avoiding texts. I checked my bank accounts 5 times a day. I set up fraud alerts, froze my credit, and changed every password I could remember. Still, every morning brought a new horror. A call from a collections agency. A missed payment. Ding. A rejection letter for a credit card I never applied for. It felt like I was drowning in a tidal wave of Sean's mistakes, except now they were mine. He hadn't just stolen my identity. He'd set my entire future on fire and walked away smiling. And the worst part? I still hadn't confronted him, because I needed one more thing, undeniable proof. The proof came from the most unexpected place, an old high school friend named Malik. We hadn't talked much since graduation, but we still followed each other on Instagram. He worked as a junior loan officer at a credit union downtown. I posted something vague on my story. That day something like, "People you trust can ruin your whole life." 10 minutes later, Malik replied, "Hey, random question. Your brother's name is Sean, right?" My heart stopped. I messaged back instantly. "Yeah, why?" "He came into my branch a few weeks ago, said his name was you." I called Malik immediately. He told me Sean had applied for a $15,000 personal loan using my name, brought in documents, copies of my ID, a utility bill, even a fake pay stub. Malik said he flagged it as suspicious because the handwriting didn't match the digital application. I didn't want to assume, he said, but when I saw your story, I figured I should say something. He emailed me internal footage from the branch. I watched it alone in my apartment, fists clenched. There he was, Sean, walking in like he had every right to be me, smirking, confident, wearing the shirt I'd loaned him months ago. He signed the paperwork with my name. I couldn't breathe. That was it. That was the final nail. I had the video. I had the forged documents. I had everything. But I wasn't angry anymore. I was numb, hollow, like my own life had been hijacked, and I was just watching it fall apart from the outside. All I could think was, he didn't just betray me. He impersonated me, and I needed to see his face when I showed him I knew. I drove to his apartment with the video, still loaded on my phone. My hands were locked on the steering wheel so tight, my knuckles turned white. I wasn't even sure what I was going to say. I just knew I had to look him in the eye. I had to see what kind of person could do this to his own brother. He opened the door with a lazy grin. "Hey, look who it is," he said, like we were catching up over drinks. I didn't speak. I walked past him and sat on his torn-up couch. The place smelled like weed, old pizza, and sweat. "I know what you did," I said, my voice calm to calm. Sean froze for a second, just long enough for the silence to thicken. Then he scoffed. "What are you talking about?" I pulled out my phone and hit play. The video from Malik's bank lit up the screen. Sean's face, my name on the documents, his sloppy signature. He watched for a few seconds, then shrugged. "Shrugged? I needed a fresh start," he said. You'll be fine. You've always been fine. I stared at him, stunned. You stole $180,000 using my name. My credit is wrecked. I could lose my job. He leaned against the wall and actually had the audacity to smirk. You're being dramatic. You've got money? You'll bounce back. That's when something inside me snapped. All these years I'd been breaking my back to hold this family together. Covering for him, cleaning up his chaos. And this was what it came to. This smug, remorseless face telling me I'd be fine while my life burned. He didn't flinch when I stood up to leave, just laughed and said, "You'd never turn me in. You don't have it in you." I didn't say a word. But I knew something he didn't. He'd finally gone too far. You'd think finding out your brother stole your identity would be the worst of it, but it wasn't. The worst came after the days that bled into each other like a slow-motion nightmare. That week, I got 3 calls from debt collectors. They weren't polite. They weren't patient. One guy said, "Mr. Last Name, we're notifying you of a delinquent balance of $42,891. Would you like to set up a payment plan?" I almost laughed. "I didn't take out that loan," I told him. "Then I suggest you file a police report, sir, because your credit is about to collapse." Asterisk, and collapse it did. I got an email from HR at work. "Hey, just a heads up, we ran your name for the internal promotion list, and there were some issues with your financial background. We'll revisit this next quarter." Translation: the job I'd worked toward for 3 years? Gone. My landlord called next. "Rent's late," she snapped. Again, I told her I'd send it tomorrow. Truth was, I had $78 in my checking account. I was eating instant noodles for dinner and skipping lunch. I canceled Netflix, sold my guitar, started calculating gas down to the last mile, and through all of this, Sean was fine, still posting on Instagram, new shoes, new tattoos, new iPhone. I stared at those pictures every night like they were acid. That was my rock bottom, when everything I'd worked for was slipping through my fingers, and the one who caused it was sleeping peacefully under a roof built from my stolen name. I remember sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at my phone, wondering if I should just disappear, change my number, move across the country. But then I looked at the bank footage again, at Sean's face, signing my name like it was a game, and something inside me hardened. If no one else was going to protect me, then I was done protecting him. Hiring a lawyer felt like admitting this was real, that my own brother had committed a felony against me, not just some messed up family issue. But I didn't have a choice anymore. I couldn't untangle this on my own. I found a small but highly rated law firm that specialized in fraud and financial crimes. My attorney, Ms. Ellison, was sharp, focused, and didn't waste words. After I explained everything, she leaned back in her chair and said, "This isn't just fraud. This is premeditated identity theft. He's looking at serious time." Hearing that out loud made my stomach twist. We spent the next 2 weeks building a paper trail. I gave her everything: credit reports, forged signatures, bank letters, screenshots, emails, and most importantly, the video footage from Malek's credit union. She barely blinked as she reviewed it all, methodically organizing it into folders and timelines. "You've got an airtight case," she said, "but I need you to be clear about something." "What?" "If we go forward, there's no going back. He could serve 5 to 10 years, maybe more." I stared at the folder in her hands. My life and documents. My name, twisted and broken. For a moment, I felt like a kid again, scared of being the bad guy, of rocking the boat, of being the reason things got worse. But then I remembered the collectors, the job I lost, the nights I cried in silence while my brother posted selfies in my stolen clothes. "I didn't start this." She nodded once. "Then let's take your life back." We filed the initial criminal complaint with the police that same day. My hands were trembling the whole time. I didn't know what would come next, but for the first time in months, I finally felt like I was doing something that mattered. The news traveled faster than I expected. I hadn't even told my parents yet, but somehow, probably through Sean, the family found out. I was pressing charges. The first call came from Mom. Her voice was panicked, like someone had died. "Tell me it's not true," she whispered. "Please, tell me you didn't go to the police." I took a breath. "It is true." I filed the report. "He stole from me, Mom. Over $180,000. He ruined my life. There was a pause, one long cold silence, and then, "You can't do this. He's your brother." I almost laughed. He was my brother. Now he's a criminal. She started crying, full-blown sobbing into the phone. "He has a problem. He's sick. You don't throw family in jail for making mistakes." "Mistakes?" I snapped. "You call this a mistake?" He impersonated me. Forged my name. Wrecked my credit. I almost lost my job. But sure, let's protect Sean like always. Then Dad got on the line. His voice was firmer, colder. "If you go through with this, you'll break this family apart." "No," I said quietly. "Sean did that, not me." The guilt came from every direction after that. My aunt texted, "Do you really want him locked in a cell for years?" My uncle offered to pay off some of the loans if I'd just dropped the case. My cousin messaged me, "You used to be better than this." Not a single person asked how I was doing. Not once. They just wanted me to stay quiet, to keep sacrificing so Sean wouldn't have to face consequences. But something had changed in me this time. I wasn't going to fold. I wasn't going to save him. And when I finally turned my phone off that night, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Clarity. The police station smelled like burnt coffee and old paper. I sat in the waiting area with the manila folder clutched in my lap, fingers digging into the edges like it could anchor me to something solid. I almost turned around twice. Not because I doubted what Sean did, God knows. I had more than enough proof, but because my chest felt like it was caving in. A uniformed officer called my name. I stood up, my legs stiff like I'd been holding the weight of everyone's expectations for too long. "I'm here to file a felony identity theft report," I said. My voice didn't shake. It surprised me we sat in a tiny interview room under flickering fluorescent lights. I handed over the documents one by one, photos, emails, forged applications, the video from the credit union. The officer listened quietly, taking notes. When I finished, he looked up and said, "You've done your homework. This is strong evidence." I nodded. "He's my brother," I added, almost like I needed to confess it. The officer didn't flinch. "Family or not, this is serious. You're doing the right thing." I wanted to believe that. Later that evening, I sat in my car outside Sean's apartment. I wasn't stalking him, I just needed to see what was about to be taken from him. I watched the sun start to dip behind the buildings as 2 patrol cars pulled up. He stepped outside in a hoodie, probably thinking they were there for someone else. Then I saw the moment realization hit. His whole body stiffened. One officer cuffed him while the other read his rights. I thought he might look around for me, maybe yell, maybe beg, but he didn't. He just stared at the ground. I stayed in my car, engine off, hands shaking in my lap. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel victorious, but for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel helpless either. I thought the hard part was over after the arrest. I was wrong. The trial was its own special kind of hell. From the moment I walked into that courtroom, I could feel the heat of eyes on me, their eyes. My family sat on the opposite side, all together, like a united front. Mom wouldn't even look at me. Dad crossed his arms and stared straight ahead, like I was just another stranger. My aunt turned her face away when I passed. No one asked how I was holding up. No one asked if I was okay. Sean looked thinner, a little pale, but not remorseful. Never that. He gave me this tired little smirk, like we were just 2 kids playfooting in the backyard. The defense attorney tried to spin a story about addiction and mental health, about desperate decisions and trauma responses. They painted Sean like some poor, misunderstood soul who just needed help. They even implied I had pushed him to the edge, calling me cold, controlling, the golden child who never let Sean breathe. I sat there, jaw tight. While strangers dismantled my life in front of 12 jurors like it was a Netflix drama, but then it was my turn. I stood up, handshaking, and told them everything. The credit fraud, the forged documents, the debt collectors, the job I lost, the sleepless nights. I told them how I watched my brother wreck me from the inside out, and how everyone in my family told me to just take it. When the verdict came in, I didn't breathe until the last word. Guilty, 7 years. State prison. No parole for at least 3. I watched as the bailiff led him out in cuffs. He didn't look at me, not once. And my mom. She wept like I had died. But I didn't die. I survived. After the sentencing, I went home and collapsed onto the floor. Not the couch. Not the bed. just the floor-cold hardwood pressing into my back, the silence loud enough to fill a stadium. I laid there for over an hour, staring at the ceiling, waiting for something to hit me. Relief, closure, rage. But mostly, I just felt empty. The next few weeks were quiet in the worst kind of way. No one in the family reached out. No, how are you? No, are you eating? Just the silence of bridges burned. And honestly, I didn't miss the smoke. I started therapy. My first session, I didn't even know what to say. I just sat across from a soft-voiced woman and let her hold the silence until the tears started. I told her about the guilt, about how even after everything, I still wondered if I'd gone too far. She looked at me and said, "He didn't just cross a line. He erased it, and that stuck with me." So I started rebuilding. I called the credit bureaus weekly, sent out letters, disputed charges, got a new social, new passwords, new locks on everything, my doors, my accounts, my peace. I changed my number, blocked half my contact list, stopped following anyone who made me feel like less. I moved, new apartment, smaller but mine. I started sleeping through the night again. I started cooking. I even started laughing, those small, surprised bursts of joy that sneak up on you when you least expect it. I didn't forgive Sean. I'm not there yet. Maybe I never will be. But I stopped carrying the shame that wasn't mine, and slowly I stopped seeing myself as a victim. I was just a man cleaning up someone else's mess one last time, only this time for me. People still ask me if I regret it. Turning in my own brother, pressing charges, watching him get hauled off in cuffs while our mother cried like I was the one who betrayed her, and every time my answer is the same. No, I don't regret it. Asterisk. Because here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud. Being family doesn't give you a license to destroy someone's life. Blood doesn't excuse betrayal. And loyalty, real loyalty, isn't about staying silent while someone drowns you. It's about protecting what's good even when it hurts. Sean made a choice, 1,000 of them really. Every forged signature, every fake loan, every lie he told, those weren't accidents. He wasn't a kid. He knew what he was doing, and he counted on me to clean it up, like I always had. But this time, ID in single quotes. This time, I chose me, my peace, my future, my dignity. And yeah, I lost a lot. My parents, my extended family, whatever illusion of togetherness we had, but honestly, that illusion was a weight I didn't know I'd been carrying. Now, I wake up in a quiet apartment, no screaming, no guilt, just space. I've started writing again, journaling mostly. Therapy helps, so does time. I'm rebuilding my credit. I'm slowly climbing back into the career I almost lost, and I'm not ashamed of what I did. I'm proud. If you're reading this and you're stuck in that same place, trapped between loyalty and self-respect, let me say this: you are allowed to choose yourself, even if it means burning bridges that were already falling apart. Because some people only love you when you're useful, and the moment you stop bleeding for them, they'll call you heartless. Let them. I didn't ruin my family. I escaped it.